Hi and welcome to part 5 of the Ultimate Arduino tutorial. Last bit, hopefully the last input code that you'll ever need. Probably not, but it'll give you a good hold and some good concepts. Anyways, this is probably going to be our final video for the series, and it's a lot shorter than I thought it would be. So, and pretty powerful code behind it. Okay, so the last time we left off, we have buttons and pots, and really very quickly and easily modifiable, so we can accommodate lots of different types of rigs, number of buttons, number of pots, and stuff like that. So it's very useful. And then now we're going to add FSRs. And like I said, my current rig right here, and I probably should show it at some point. Maybe I'll break out the camera a little bit later on. Doesn't have any FSRs on it, but that's okay. It's probably better to just think about it theoretically, anyways. I have another rig that I know works, but well, I can show that to you and just modify this and show you how that might work with my other rig. Okay. In any case, let's look at this FSR thing. Okay. So again, some video, an older video here that in the same playlist. Sorry, you actually need to watch it right now. Right. That will take you through the circuit for building a force. Actually, it's a whole building thing. So it teaches you how to make your own FSR from scratch using Velostat. You can buy commercial ones. They're not terribly expensive. I like making my own because they're considerably cheaper. Because copper tape, you can find them in garden stores, etc., etc. But you can certainly buy one. It's definitely not expensive. And they're kind of nicer and more accurate and better and nicely wrapped up and such. So I think they're like, well, I'm in the UK, so £4 or £5. What is that, like, $8-9 or something like that. Certainly it won't break your bank. In any case, there you go, or you can make your own, and this will at least show you how to hook it up as well. I think it just involves one resistor. Alrighty, so back to our FSR code. 4 sensing resistor, so it gives you like a pot continuous output, depends on how much pressure. So it's just kind of like a tactile push button, but the harder you push, so a lot like a MIDI keyboard kind of thing. It gives you velocity. The harder you push, the greater value you get out. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and make one and then several. We might as well stick with that pattern. I was thinking we can just jump into the several, but I think it's a little bit more clear when we make one and then several. Okay, so we're going to go make a little header here and call this FSRs. Okay, and then we're going to have so it's another analog input, again very similar to the pot, but we're going to do a few different kind of things so we can get additional data from our FSR. So we're going to have FSR int, and we're going to make it oh dear, I guess I'm going to have to hook up something. Okay, hold on a sec. And plugged in my other rig so we can actually have FSR thing. And oh dear, okay, let me just look up recent open your framework, which pins they are, just to find out what pins they are. Okay, so A5, A6. So let's start with A5. Okay, so we'll have an analog 5 will be our FSR pin, again, just like the pots. And then we'll have an int. Oh, wow. Okay, thresh PK. Ooh. Okay. I'm going to change the names a little bit. So FV for FSR value, FSRV maybe like that. Okay, and then we'll have a int FSR thresh. Okay, and then the FSR Boolean, FSR peak gate, and then that's going to be true. Oh, FSR thresh, I guess we'll set it to 0 for now, and then just to see what you'll see what the values are. Okay, and then we're going to have a FSR pval, previous value. Sorry, FSR PV. Okay, that's going to be equal to 0. Okay, so again, much like the pots, except we're going to have a threshold kind of detect kind of thing. And actually, I think you can find a video, and you can incorporate this. I didn't incorporate this, where it gives you kind of a peak detection. It's kind of like velocity, so you can get like a velocity out of it as well. Oh, maybe we have that. I feel like, oh, peak val. This is not previous value. That's a peak val. So we did do it. Okay, right. Okay, so just like very much similar to the potentiometers, the force sensing resistors, then we'll have an analog read. So we called it FSRV. So we'll say FSRV equals analog read, and then we just give it the pin that it's going to be FSR. Okay, and then we're going to print, do our fancy little print. Well, we won't do the fancy print, but yeah. Well, let me just. Do I have it? Well, I'll just copy this. Okay, so we don't have to spend too much time typing it. Okay, so we're going to print FSR. We're going to print 0, the colon. You can just do FSR 0 colon. I guess that's all I need. And then we're going to have, so I guess I didn't really need to copy and paste FSRV. Right, we're going to print it. Okay, and that's all we need for now, I think. Okay, so this is step 1. Let's save that. Let's upload that. I have a different rig now, so I changed the thing. And hopefully we won't get too much FSR, FSRV, FSRV. Sorry. So I changed my rig, so I had to change the code, and this is, probably should have talked you through this variation, but maybe we'll do that at the end. Have maybe one more video showing me changing between rigs. Okay, so in any case, if you notice the code is considerably different, it's just because in this rig I have a number of different buttons and a number of different pots. But apparently it works now, so let me upload that. Spared you all the troubleshooting. And then let's have a look here at the serial monitor. It's all done. Okay, so it looks like this is going to be continuous output in my FSR 0, right? Right, and so I'm pushing it, and it's getting higher as I'm pushing down. I have these cool spring-loaded ones. I haven't made a video about them, but they're kind of look like little lollipops now. I should get a video of these rigs. Okay, in any case, there you go. It's working there. It's giving me output. But once again, we have that problem of continuous output. Okay, and then there's a peak thing that I want to show you as well. And I made a previous video of it, so if you can skip this if you've already seen that video and know how to do things. Okay, so basically what we want to do is we want to do a peak detection kind of thing. Well, first of all, we want just kind of like a threshold thing. So in order to prevent it from continuously putting out values when it's at rest, that's the only time. So it's a little bit different than the rest. I mean, it's a lot like the pots. We want basically, but it's kind of a push thing. So it's the harder I push, the higher the value goes up. But when I let go, it goes back down to its base value. We're going to have this threshold, FSR thresh. Okay, so basically another if statement. If we just let's just copy here. If we don't need just something like this. Okay, like that. Copy an if statement. FSRs. Okay. Don't worry, we'll adjust that. Just make sure we close it there. And so we basically want to say we want to read it first. Sorry, and then if. So basically, we want to say if the FSR value FSRV is greater than the FSR thresh, okay, the threshold which we set independently is greater than FSR thresh. I probably should have spelled it right. Is that how you spell it? I'm such a bad speller. Thresh? Yeah, oh well. That's how I spell it. Okay, if it's greater than the FSR thresh, then go ahead and print out. But when it's at rest, when it's not greater than the threshold, then don't do anything. Okay, so let's just, since our threshold is 0, let's go ahead and upload it and run it and just see what the, I should have done that the last time, but just see what the baseline resting threshold is. Now my FSR little spring-loaded ones are a little wonky, so the more you use them, so that it changes the threshold a little bit. We seem to be hovering around 25 at rest. See if I hold it for a little bit. It does kind of jump up a little bit. So we can probably be pretty safe with 50. There seems to be an odd value in there, but that's probably from one of the pots. So we can probably be pretty comfortable at 50. Okay, so you'll see what happens if we put it at 50 and then upload the code. So only when it's above 50, like here, according to the only when this analog read, this FSR value is above 50, will it spit out the serial thing. So at rest, see, it's not spitting out anything, but as I push it, it's spitting out its values, and then when I let go of it, it drops below 50 and it doesn't spit out anything. All right, so you don't get that continuous output. But of course, when you're pushing it, you want that continuous output because you're changing it, modifying it gradually. Okay. Okay. Now, so that's great, and that's our one kind of data. So again, just like with the buttons, we're gonna have two types of data come from this. The first type of data, we'll call it whatever, raw values. Yeah, we'll just call it raw values. Continuous data, maybe. These are probably not great names. Okay, and then we're going to actually have a peak detection. Okay, so this is a little bit more involved. Again, I think I have a more detailed video if you want to go look at that. I'm going to kind of push through this a little bit. Okay, so basically, in theory, what happens now is I'll talk you through it, and then I'll just write through the code, and then you can kind of review, go back if you need to repeat. Okay, this section. So basically, the idea is that, and I'll talk you through this code here. Okay, so the idea is that we're going to see if it's above the threshold first. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead, and this will be the kind of the raw value. It'll just keep coming out. Okay, then we're going to have another embedded if statement, a nested if statement, and then we're going to use this previous value. So if the value of if it's still going up, we're going to detect a peak, I guess is what I'm saying. So I guess, sorry, let's back up a little bit and tell you the theory. Basically, the idea is we're going to give this value, if it's going up, it's going up, it's going up, and when it reaches a peak, it starts coming down, right? So when we notice that change in direction, then we're going to report that peak value, right? Okay, so this is going to just see, this nested if statement is going to see if it's still going up. So is the previous value equal to the is the current value greater than the previous value? Is it going up? If it is going up, then we'll just go ahead and update the previous value, right? Because then the next time we got to compare it to the previous value. Okay, and that ends that kind of loop. Even though this is a nested loop, that's just we're done with that. Okay, but then the else, which is an else on this if, right? Okay, so it's going up, but if it's not going up, if it's coming down, if the current value is less than the previous value or equal to it, I guess you can do greater than or equal to if you want to make sure it's going down. Then we have a gating situation, which I'll explain later. So to report just one peak, right? That's what that peak gate is. It's just like all the other stuff we did with the buttons and the pots. We just want to report it one. So if it is coming back down, then that last value, the previous value, is our peak, right? If our current value is less than the last value, the previous value, which is this else, right? If this is greater than, but if it's not greater than, which means it's less than, go ahead and report the FSP, which is the peak. We're going to report that, and that's our peak value because it's the previous value will be the actual peak. Okay, and then we close this gate. This gating system is the same we've used, just to so that we only report one peak. It doesn't just keep reporting. Okay, and then a little bit different than a button. So basically, button will report one if you push it, and then won't report again until you let go of it. So our version of sort of letting go of the button is falling below the threshold. So then in this way, this else refers to this if the value is above the threshold. Okay. Then sorry, if it's greater than the threshold, so else means is below the threshold. Okay. Then we're going to print out we're going to make the peak gate true so you can report the next peak, and then we're going to reset the previous value to 0, and then we're going to report the FSR. I don't know why we're reporting FSR here. If it falls below the threshold, then we're going to report once, I guess, the current value. I guess that gives us the final value. Okay, but I'm not sure why we have that here, because we have this here. It's greater than the threshold, so I'm not sure we have that here. In any case, maybe we'll see. Maybe I can improve the code and get rid of that. Okay, so that's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of stuff. But again, I think I do have a video that goes more into detail. But I am just going to copy this over and kind of be redundant about, reverting all these back to a single thing. So I just do it in Magic, and then I'll come back and you'll see it magically happen. And then you can just pause the video if you want to copy it, that kind of thing. Okay. And like magic, our code is there, but let me walk you through it one more time. Okay. So basically, the first thing we do is we, read the analog to the FSR, right? Okay. And then first like we just did, we just detect if it's above a threshold, so it's not continuously output. And I've commented out our raw values because you can't see the peak otherwise. But these raw values, what we call raw values, whatever, are just your basic FSR values. But it's under, remember, we're using different tags, so this is under this FSR heading. So FSR 0 will be this, okay? Sorry, FSR 0, I have that wrong. 0 colon will be that. Okay, and FSP 0 colon. Okay, so then embedded within this, so only if it's above the threshold, do we see if it's going up. So the FSR value, the current value, has to be greater than the FSR previous value for it to be going up. Okay, if that's the case, if it is going up, then we just return, we update the previous value, right? So the next time it comes around, FSRP is still, then we compare it here. Is the current value, which has been read, greater than the previous value? And then if it's yes, we update it and go up, and then just keep going. So this just stops here, okay? Now this else, probably better served by actually putting else if and then the actual statement. But this is saying if it's going down. So if it's going up, if it's not going up, then else, that means it's going down, okay? So then we have this peak gate, which is the same thing we did with the buttons. What we do is we have it, by default open. So it comes in here open, prints out that peak value, and then it closes it so it doesn't come back through. Okay, so the next time, if it is still going down, the peak gate's closed. Okay, so it only reports one peak. Then this else is based on this F. So if FSR value is greater than the FSR thresh, so this else means FSR value is less than the FSR thresh, or equal to, I guess. So if it's below the thresh, and if the peak gate is false, which means if it had a peak, then we open it up true, and then we set the previous value to 0. So then the next time we get a peak, it's dropped below the threshold, so we can get another peak. Okay, so let me show you how that looks. So I have our serial monitor. I'm not going to hit my FSR, and see, it gives me a peak of 347. I'm going to hit it again, 778. Now I don't know why it gets that leading 0, but I'm sure there's a way to get rid of that. Because I had the weird message. Never mind. Okay, and if I tap it lightly, get 104, 121. Let's see if I can get something closer to 50. That's not bad. If I really hit it hard, I get 744, 756. And then I think in my other video, hopefully I do, I go into ways of, these are the spring-loaded ones, so they're a little bit more wonky, but I go through ways of kind of massaging your peak time. So you can get kind of a similar to something like velocity on a MIDI keyboard, right? You can get how hard you hit it, so you can get an amplitude or something like that if you want. Okay, so that's the peak. Now, if I just comment these out, you won't see the peak because these will be coming out continuously, so they'll rush right by. But this also gives me the raw values. Okay, so let me go ahead and upload that. And then we get the continuous raw values as well as a peak. So the peak was somewhere here. FSP, oh well, it's buried in a sea of, yeah, there it is, 672. FSP 492. Okay, but then you also get the continuous FSR values. Okay, so you get two types of data there, again, from the one sensor. All right, now, so this is kind of longish, and then I think I will do one more video and just get the camera out and show you the rigs. Promises, will I? Maybe, hopefully. And also show you how to change the code from rig to rig. Maybe that's useful. Okay, so let's do that at least. All right, so there we go. So that's it. Oh no, you know what we're gonna do? So we'll just make this long video a little bit longer, but very quickly, just like we did with the pots, arrayizing and for loopizing this thing so we can have a continuous any one we want. Okay, so let me just refer to this one here because I forget which things my FSRs are connected to. So again, we're gonna have copy there. We're gonna have maybe N F. Okay, and then I only have 2 of them there for this rig. Okay, and then right, sorry, going here. So we'll have FSRs. We'll just copy this here, and we'll have NF. Right? Okay, so we'll have all these. Just copy and paste all those there. Make those all arrays. Okay, and then this will be an array A5 and A6. Analog 5 and analog 6, those are the pins I'm using. This we're going to leave blank. These will just let's presume, I think the other one has a little bit worse of a threshold, but we can find that out. So that one we said was 50, and the next one we'll say, we'll just say 100. I have 230, wow, it must be terrible. Well, let's do 200 and see what happens. Anyways, I can adjust that later. And then an array of trues. Right, and then an array of zeros. 0, 0. Oops, not O. 0. 0. Right. Okay. So there we go. And then we're going to go ahead and set up this bit here, FSRs. So we need our for loop. And we're just going to copy one of these for loops. Oops. And it'll be NF instead of F and P. Okay, and then we're just going to make that little I everywhere, right? And hopefully we don't make too many mistakes here, or any mistakes. Better. FSRI, FSRVI, FSR thresh I, and we'll update the labels later. Greater than I, peak 8 I, heavy I, and I have a feeling I didn't close the for loop. Yeah, I didn't. Right. And that's the for loop. Good. Great. Okay. Now we just copy this string bit here, the pots, and we're going to replace this. So this is going to be this FSR I, and then this will be FSP, the for sensing peak, FSRP technically, but that's fine. And no other prints. Okay, so that should do it for us, hopefully. Let's see if it compiles. Yeah, it looks like it's going to compile. Let's go ahead and upload it to our Arduino board. And I have a feeling that that threshold might be not the one. Oops. Where's the serial monitor? Where are you? Ay. Sorry. It's not happy. Okay. So then that's FSR0, and this is FSR1. Right. And we have a peak. Oh, now FSR0 is flipping out. Yeah, FSR peak 1, FSR peak 0. There we go. And then we have our 2 things working. Continuous data. There you go. Okay, so that pretty much wraps it up. I think I will do one more video to show you how you change from rig to rig, and I'll actually show you just a video of my rig. I haven't made videos of the actual building of these rigs because they took me a really long time, and that might be an involved video set, but I'll get to it. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I think this will be very useful. It's very useful for me. I just kind of just vary these things. But the next video, I'll just show you how to maybe change from one rig to another. It's pretty common sense. You might not need to watch it, but just change some of these numbers. It might be good if you want to see someone walk through it. It might be helpful. Okay, but there you go. And that's as far as I'm getting. I mean, gosh, you can add a number of sensors. I think it gets a little trickier if you want to add more than one, say, ultrasonic sensor or something like a accelerometer. Then I think it might be difficult because you use certain kind of pins and stuff like that. Haven't tackled that one yet, but I mean, as far as your basic sensors, I mean, a lot of my work, this is what I use. I use buttons, but some variation on the button, so it might be a foot pedal or something else. You can maybe add a piezo sensor to these things, or like optical sensor, and I think it'll follow a very similar sort of logic here. I haven't looked specifically at those circuits, but it's the kind of things. And if you just kind of follow the logic using these gates and these arrays and stuff like that, you can just collect up all the things you want. And if you're not using any of the particular sensors, like let's say I have a rig without any buttons, I'll just change everything to 0, right? I'll just say, but keep the structure in there. I'll say number of buttons equals 0, and then just zero out all the or even if I just make that 0, I don't even think I need to change the arrays and stuff, because it won't for loop through any of this stuff. It'll just say 0. I'm not going to for loop through anything, regardless of what these things are. I mean, they might take up a little memory or something like that. Easy tiny bit of memory. Okay, so you can create a whole bunch of pots and create different rigs. So hopefully that's very useful. I will upload one more video showing my actual rigs, and then how I change between one rig and another. Okay, so hopefully that's useful and enjoyable to you.